This land is your land. This land is my land. From California, well, to the New York Island.
Hey, it is Chef Rene Johnson. You know what? The holidays are here. And so I thought, what is the perfect recipe that I could share with you guys? So I decided I'm going to share with you guys my vegan cornbread dressing. I know you guys think that it's not going to be good, but I promise you, you guys will not miss all the meat and all the other stuff that goes into a traditional cornbread dressing. So with that being said, I'm going to get right into it so we can get to cooking. So let's get into the ingredients of this vegan cornbread dressing, this southern vegan cornbread dressing. So what I have is, I have some leeks here, I have some fresh fennel, I have my onion, my bell pepper, and my celery. Right now what I'm going to do is start off with our Holy Trinity. So I'm going to cut up my celery, my onion and my bell pepper. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into these other vegetables. You can add some mushrooms if you want to this. You could add some chickpeas if you want to this. You can even add some vegan sausage if you want to this. There's some great options for that. But right now we're just going to make a good old-fashioned traditional southern vegan cornbread dressing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first cut my onion up. Okay, so next I got my Holy Trinity done. I have my onions, my celery, my bell peppers, and now what we're going to do is two of the other most important ingredients for this recipe is my leeks and my fennel. And I love a leek, you guys, and you guys will see me cook with leeks a lot. Leeks remind me of a savory onion. They give your food just a little bit of just like a little, I love them for gravy, even that. They give you a little, something that's just different about it, but they're my savory onion. And so what I'm doing is I'm cutting the top of this off, and and I love this too. This is like cooking tips that I do. I always keep myself a garbage bowl, so as I'm cutting stuff, I just throw everything inside my garbage bowl. That's something you learn in cooking school. I see people do it all the time, and I picked it up, and I love it. Sometimes my grandmother would take some of these items and make a stalk out of the ends of everything. She'd even throw an onion peel inside of her stock. That's something that you guys should know, and it was amazing. So next, I'm cutting my leeks up. I'm cutting them thin, keeping them whole as well. Okay, we're back. So we have all of our vegetables prepped for our dressing. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to prepare our vegan cornbread. I'm not going to put any sugar in this cornbread. You know, back in the day, we used our grandmother's cornbread that my grandmother would, any cornbread that she had left over when it was coming time for the holidays, what she would do was save her cornbread for the dressing. We're not doing that, and that dressing always had a little bit of sugar in it as well. The cornbread always had a little bit of sugar in it. So to take care of that little bit of bite of sugar, we're going to put some fresh thyme to give us that sweetness that we're missing from that traditional cornbread, because we're doing everything fresh. So the only difference that I'm going to do is I'm not going to use any eggs or anything, but I am going to make this cornbread a little wetter than traditional cornbread. It's going to cook take a little bit longer, but it's a reason for that. So we're going to do vegan cornbread. So we're going to do our flour. And the secret, let's talk about cornbread. If it wasn't vegan cornbread or whatever cornbread you're going to make, the secret to any cornbread so you'll have the best one is you always want to do equal everything except for sugar. You can adjust your sugar as much as you like. So the secret to any cornbread is 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of cornmeal, 1 cup of milk, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And then you adjust your sugar to whatever how sweet you want it. We like a little sweeter cornbread, but not a cake cornbread. So we usually do maybe like 2/3 cup of sugar in that recipe. So that's the secret to any cornbread. I don't care if they say do 3/4 cup of flour or 3 cups worth of cornmeal. The secret is equal everything. Oh, and your butter. And you can adjust your butter as much as you want as well. And we usually do maybe like a cup of butter. I know we're not supposed to, but we do. because I like to be able to see the butter on top of my cornbread when I'm making it. So we're gonna make a vegan cornbread right now. So we have our cornmeal, we have our flour, we have our cornmeal, and that was 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of cornmeal. We're gonna do 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and we're gonna do 1 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to stir that up. I don't know what happened to my spoon, so I'm going to use my spatula. And remember, we're not going to put any eggs in this. So we're going to do 1.5 cups, because it's vegan, we're going to do 1.5 cups of milk. And it's not a science to this, because this is going in dressing. Last but not least, we're going to add our butter. And there's my spoon. And that's vegan butter going in here. And my favorite vegan butter, you guys, is cashew butter or avocado butter. I love them both. And for this one, I use the cashew butter. And which milk did I use, which is important to a lot of vegan people, is I used an oat milk for this particular one. And I used a heavy one. Let's stir this up. I'm going to add a little bit more milk to it because I want it a little wetter. I want it to pour like cake batter. Just like cake batter. There we go. I'm going to prepare, I'm going to put mine in this beautiful dish. I'm going to spray my pan. Now what did I do with my scraper? Oh, there it is. I keep losing stuff. This is going to be a beautiful, you guys see how that's pouring in though? Just like cake batter. There you go. And I'm going to put this in the oven at 425 for about 30 minutes, maybe 45. And vegan cornbread takes a little bit longer than regular cornbread, because traditional cornbread takes about 20 to 25 minutes. So I'm going to drop this in. And this one may not be that long, but we're going to put it in and get it nice and brown. Okay, so let's get back to our dressing. We're on the last, well, we have 2 more steps after this. Well, this is one, we have 1 more. So what makes this different than any other vegan dressing that you're going to have is that, remember back in the day when your grandmother, your auntie used to take a can of cream of mushroom soup and throw it in that dressing to give it that creaminess and that richness? We're going to make a vegan roux that we're going to add to our dressing that's going to give us that extra piece of savory that we need. So right now, what I have in my skillet is I have a little bit of vegan butter and a little bit of olive oil. We need both of them. I want the buttery flavor of them. I have a cup of flour. Add a little bit more olive oil to this. And I'm going to let this brown. And you know the secret to any roux is that it's equal flour and equal fat. Whether it's butter or olive oil or whatever it is. And that's the same thing with gravy. It's equal flour, equal gravy. When you're starting from, equal flour, equal fat, and then and it's double the liquid. So I'm going to add a little salt to this. I'm going to add a little bit of smoked paprika, some chili powder, and some cumin to this. And the other thing I'm doing with this is I am going to add some fresh fennel. Some fennel seeds. Ooh, it smells good. I'm I'm gonna let this brown a little bit. And then I'm gonna add my liquid. Okay, so the secret to this also is that I am next getting ready to add my liquid to this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use some coconut milk. I'm gonna use 1 whole can of coconut milk. And this is an organic one, so it's a little heavier in fat. Ooh, it's gonna be so creamy. And then I'm gonna add 1 cup of water to this. I'm gonna let this cook down. And it's gonna become a nice creamy gravy. And this is gonna be what we add to our dressing. I'm gonna let this come to a nice little quick boil and let it thicken up even more. It's gonna get smooth and creamy. Now you see me playing with the water content. I'm playing with the water content because I want to make sure that I have enough liquid in here for it to build and for the flour and all the spices to break down and get smooth and creamy, because that's the secret to this. You don't want it to taste milky or chalky, or, you know, when you taste bad gravy, you know you do. So we don't want bad gravy. We don't want a bad roux or blanchamel, which is another thing that they used to call this. Okay, I'm gonna let this cook about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm gonna coat the back of my spoon so you guys can see how this, how I want it to look. I'm gonna coat the back of the spoon so you guys can see how I want the texture of this gravy to be, okay? So now let's get to it. I am about to put our cornbread together. I've taken our cornbread out of the oven. I have some breadcrumbs, just some basic breadcrumbs, just some stuffing mix that I have. It doesn't matter what brand you get. It's just bread, and it's not cornbread stuffing, it's regular bread stuffing. And then I have our vegetable mixture here. You should not have to do a lot of salting and everything to this particular recipe at this point, because I've done all the layers of everything. I also have some fresh herbs here. I have some fresh sage, some fresh oregano, and I also have my thyme that we talked about. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up my cornbread. I'm going to pull it out. This is a thin one. But look at that, you guys. Look how beautiful that is. Ooh, that's a vegan cornbread. I promise you, when you try this recipe, when it's not even for dressing, you're going to love this cornbread. And that secret to that was that I made that sauce, that a mixture, just like a cake, like a cake batter. So I'm going to throw my cornbread inside of here. It's going to break up when we break it up, when I mix it all up. So I'm just throwing it all in. Then next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my fresh thyme. I'm going to remove it from the stems. And I'm adding my fresh herbs at the end because I didn't want them to cook. I wanted them to cook when we put this back in the oven to bring it all together and bind it all together. And there's something about fresh thyme and fresh herbs and your cooking that just elevates it and makes it real to me. And not to say that the other stuff isn't real, but it's just something about the experience of fresh herbs. So I'm adding some fresh oregano, adding maybe about 3 or 4 stalks of this. I've lost count now, but trust and believe we can't go too heavy on it. And then next I'm going to add my sage. I'm going to pull some sage leaves off. And I like to go a little heavier on the sage because it is Thanksgiving time, and you know, and that sage is really good in this dressing recipe. And I'm taking my sage and I'm rolling it up. bad that you're not in my kitchen with me. I feel really bad. You know, that'd be a miracle if we could push a bite through the camera. Okay, so there we go. I put about 7 leaves of sage in here, and I'm going to taste this and see if I want to add a little bit more. And then next, I'm going to add all of my vegetables. So that's all of my vegetables. The other thing I'm going to add 1 cup of our gravy. Next, only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little water to it. Let me grab a little water. There we go. We want to get it wet. We want to get it back wet. Ooh. And the other thing I have is I have some poultry seasoning and I have some sage, some dry, and then some mustard as well. All this in there together. I shouldn't need any salt, but I'm going to taste it to see if I need any salt. I'm going to add a little more water to it. And you can also use, if you don't want to use water, you can also use a vegan chicken stock. Which is what I probably would have done, which I usually do, but I didn't have any for this recipe. And again, this is your recipe, make it your own. Okay, we're gonna mix this up. Okay, you guys, I have just mixed up my dressing. And it's so freaking amazing. I want to say this is the best thing I've ever made, but every time I make something, I say this is the best thing I've ever made. But this right here is a freaking game changer. I have all the layers of salt, everything, and I tasted it. I didn't need to do anything to it. I did want you guys to note that this is a little tighter than traditional dressing. So just traditional dressing, I make it a little wetter because I like a moisture dressing, but this is vegan. So I'm going to leave this a little bit tighter. I'm not going to cook it so long. It's already cooked. I'm going to just let it get browned on the top, and then we're going to take it out of the oven. And then I also didn't break it up so much. I like dressing that has a little bit of texture in it. So I didn't break up my cornbread and stuff like that. Like a lot of people have a soft dressing. I like a dressing where you can taste each thing on it. So now what we're doing is, I just want you guys to know that I'm going to taste this. Everything is in it. Everything, and I don't need to put no salt or anything. I'm going to put it in my pan. I'm going to spray my pan heavy. And I'm going to cover it when I bake it, and then I'm going to take it off and brown it a little bit. But I'll cover it so everything just kind of mixes all together and penetrates and, what's the word, and concentrate and saturate and comes together. So let's do it. I want you guys to see how it's tight, but it's wet. We might have a couple of guest appearances. My grandchildren are coming home from school now, so sometimes we get guest appearances in my videos. See how tight that is? But it's moist and mixed well together. And I'm going to cover this and put it in the oven. Look at the colors in this too. Look at the colors in this. The green. Hey, it is Chef Rene Johnson, and we are at the end of our holiday menu special. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us. I feel bad that you guys are not here to be able to experience this wonderful, wonderful food. It is going down in our house. I do want to share with you guys our final menu and what we prepared tonight. So what we're eating tonight is we have some roasted butternut squash that's roasted in onions and garlic, a little bit of salt and pepper. We have some homemade cranberry sauce that I want you guys to try. It's so easy to make. And once you guys make this, you'll never have canned cranberry sauce again. We have some vegan dressing because you can't have dressing, vegan gravy because you can't have dressing without gravy. We have our vegan dressing that is amazing, and you're able to see all the fresh vegetables and all the color and all the things that we put in here. We have some curry cabbage, that's fresh cabbage, some onions and some bell peppers, a little bit of curry spice and some fresh curry leaves. And then also we have, last but not least, our vegan tofu fried chicken. We are about to do the dang thing. I feel bad that you guys are not here. I wish I could just give you guys one little bite through the camera, but I can't. But you guys can create these recipes in your own home. Bring a little Chef Rene Johnson in your house, a little blackberry soul. This is coming to you from my heart to your table. Chef Rene Johnson. Bye.